Hello friends, looking at current affairs for 29th May, the news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 14. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, dirty war has to be fought with innovative ways, says General Bipin Rawat. So this is Army Chief General Bipin Rawat who has stated that what is going on in Jammu and Kashmir is a proxy war, a dirty war, which is not a war with face to face with the adversary. So that is why there have to be innovative ways to fight this war, and one of the innovative ways which has been felicitated, the army chief had provided this commendation medal to Major Litul Gogoi. This is the person against whom court of inquiry is probing about an incident in which he had tied an individual, a Kashmiri, to the jeep, on the front of the jeep, to keep the stone pelters at bay. So this action has resulted in this court of inquiry looking into the matter, and while the court of inquiry is looking into the matter, the army chief has conferred on him the commendation medal. So this is being defended by the army chief here, saying that this has been done to boost the morale of the young officers of the force. So this because they are fighting in a difficult environment in a militancy infested state. The army chief also says that the people have to have the fear of the army, else the country is doomed. So not just the adversaries, in the sense the countries who are against us who should fear the Indian army, but also the people themselves, because army is also called in to bring law and order. So in those cases, if people are not fearful of the army, then action cannot be taken. So this is the point being made and justification given by General Bipin Rawat. The person who was tied to the jeep, Mr. Farooq Dar. So this video had gone viral too. So this he says he's not a militant, he was not a stone thrower too, he was returning home after casting his vote in the by-election. So that's what the army was looking at. The by-elections were going on in Jammu and Kashmir then, and if a voter is faced with such trauma, it's a complete human rights violation, and here it is justified as such by the army chief. Next is no report yet on Kanpur derailment. So this is Indore Rajendra Nagar Express, the train which derailed in November 2016. 14 coaches of this Patna bound train had derailed near Kanpur. So in this case, a preliminary report has also not been submitted yet. So the Commission on Railway Safety has to submit this preliminary report within 1 month. And this Commission on Railway Safety is under the Civil Aviation Ministry to ensure independence in its probe. So it's not under the Ministry of Railways. Otherwise, it does not make sense to have an investigation done if it's under the same ministry. So that's why it is placed under Civil Aviation Ministry, and this preliminary report also has not been put forth as yet. So this case, you should know, has also been referred to NIA, National Investigation Agency, because the railway minister then had written to the Home Minister saying that there is a probability of sabotage in this case, that this was not just an accident, but it had been purposefully done. So this sabotage angle has to be investigated into, and that's why the case was handed over to NIA. And no result as such has come forth yet. Even IIT experts have been involved in investigating this case, but no report has come forth. The report also has to be put up in public domain. And after that preliminary report, detailed high-level investigation has to take place, and that detailed investigation should also complete in 6 months. So already 6 months have passed and no report has come, not even the preliminary report. In the initial inquiry which Commission for Railway Safety had done, it had found that the reason for the derailment accident was carriage and wagon defect as the prime reason. This was stated as such, but then after the case was handed over to NIA, report has not come forth, and that is cited as a reason by Commission of Railway Safety of not putting up a report. On the other hand, NIA says that they have not received any preliminary report from CRS as yet too, and IIT experts have finalized investigations report has also not come forth. So this is what is being the status of this case presently. Then next is Pokkali organic farming. So Pokkali is a unique saline tolerant rice variety grown in the coastal regions of Kerala. So here Pokkali rice is grown during the period from June to November. So at that time saline levels are low in the field, and after the rice has been cultivated, water from the sea and the backwaters in this coastal region, they are allowed to enter into the field. This is controlled through the sluice gates. So water flows to the fields, and from mid-November to mid-April, when the salinity here would be high, prawn farming is undertaken. So these prawn seedlings swim naturally from the sea and the backwaters into the field, rice field after harvest, and they feed on the leftovers of the harvested crop. And after this, rice, when it is cultivated, it gets fertilizers because the prawns excrement and other remnants serve as nutrients for the rice crop. So this is how organic farming, pokkali farming, is undertaken here. So this organically grown pokkali is also famed for having a peculiar taste and high protein content too. So these grains are extra large, and even the farmers claim that they have medicinal properties as well. So a DNA library has also been developed and maintained at the University of Arizona in USA on this pokkali rice. So this is the rice variety from coastal regions of Kerala. Presently, this also speaks of how these regions under pokkali rice are shrinking due to developmental activities in these coastal districts here. Then next is lake frothing goes from bad to worse. So this is the issue of frothing, which is being seen in various lakes in the cities. Here it is seen in Belandur Lake especially, which is in Bengaluru. And this lake had been prominently in news because it had caught fire because of frothing. So what is this frothing? It is this froth you can see here. So when you wash clothes with detergents, you see the froth gets accumulated. So that is because of chemicals involved. So here these lakes are being used to dump sewage wastewater without treatment. So it results in these chemicals accumulating in the lakes as such, and frothing developing. And this frothing issue has worsened after the rains. So at that time when Belandur Lake had caught fire, the Bengaluru sewage board, as such sewage managed water supply and sewage board, it had set up the siphon system. So these were mesh like wires you can see here, which were put up so that the froth cannot go out. Otherwise the froth moves out on the roads, it results in accidents, it also goes up into residential complexes, it's also carried away by winds. So this was a huge concern, and fire, if it results in fire, then of course it has to be seriously dealt with. So this Belandur Lake is not the only one which is seeing frothing. Even Varthur Lake here in this region, Huvinen and Subramanyapura lakes around it, they have also seen this frothing incident. So this is being highlighted here, and what is seen is that siphon system is not working. So the Bengaluru Water Supply Sewerage Board also says that this was done on a pilot basis, and there needs to be more that needs to be done to tackle this frothing issue now. Next is Gandhi's motives to go off campaigns. So this is regarding Swachh Bharat Mission campaign, in which Gandhi's motives were used. So Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, his spectacles as such, which are used as symbols for Swachh Bharat Mission, because that was his dream as well. So this Swachh Bharat Mission was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 2nd October 2014 with the goal of making India clean and open defecation free by October 2, 2019. So this is the Swachh Bharat Mission, but then a petition was filed in Chhattisgarh High Court that this using of these symbols related to father of the nation on toilets, urinals, dustbin is resulting in disrespect. So that is why the Chhattisgarh High Court in March 2017 gave this order that this should not be done, and that is why now the various ministries involved here, like urban development, drinking water, sanitation ministries, each of them has issued separate orders that henceforth all images, photographs, sketches and printed material of Mahatma Gandhi and symbols and articles linked to him should be taken off from Swachh Bharat Mission campaigns. They should not be used on public toilets, urinals and dustbins. So this has been the order which has come forth. Next is ISRO set to launch heaviest rocket. So this is GSLV Mark III, the heaviest rocket ever made by India. So this is ready for its first launch. So this would be undertaken. It will be in news. We'll study about it. So this heavy lift rocket is capable of placing up to 8 tons in low Earth orbit. So that is why it is stated by the ISRO chief that this can also be used to carry India's crew module. So we can have human crew into space if this GSLV Mark III works well. So that is the case. India then would become the 4th nation in the world to have human space flight program. Presently, there are only 3 nations which have sent and have the capability to send humans in space: Russia, USA and China. The next is Modi in Berlin today says new chapter in ties. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Berlin, Germany. He's on a 6-day tour, a 4-nation tour to Germany, Spain, Russia and France. All four are members of NSG. An NSG meeting would take place again in June 2016 when again India's membership application would be considered. So in that context also this visit is significant. Plus also with Germany, other issues which are of concern are one with respect to trade and second with respect to even Belt and Road Initiative, and steps being taken, other projects being explored for connectivity and development in Africa and Indian Ocean region by the two nations, India and Germany together. So this is there. Also another point made is that the all four leaders would meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi again in July 2017 at G20 summit, which will take place in Hamburg as such. So this, and in Germany, the two major issues being discussed, one with respect to trade. So this trade related aspect that we have discussed 2 days back too is regarding BTIA. So EU-India broad-based trade and investment agreement or bilateral trade and investment agreement is being negotiated, and these negotiations are also suspended for 4 years now. So that is why this has to be picked up on a quicker scale, because Germany is also keen, because Germany is India's largest trading partner in EU. So it is keen for this agreement to be finalized, and also it says if that is not the case, at least the bilateral investment treaty. So that is between India and Germany. That treaty has also lapsed in March 2017. So at least that should be put in place. Otherwise, the countries, Germany's investments in India would be concerned and they would not be keen on further investments too. So that is highlighted. So bilateral investment treaty also I've stated earlier, these have been allowed to lapse by the Indian government deliberately because model BIT has been established. So the BITs have to be renegotiated because we don't want foreign investors to drag India to international courts of arbitration. So international arbitration should be a last resort. First, the local nation's judicial system and avenues should be exhausted, and only then international arbitration should take place. This is a key point in the model BIT which we want to incorporate in all new BITs which we have with various countries. So we'll see what goes ahead with India-Germany BIT too. So this is the case. The next news item is strategic ties with foreign OEMs. So this is regarding the strategic partnership model under defense procurement policy, which we have discussed quite often in this month too now. And I've stated this is important and will be frequently in use. So this strategic partnership model is one which envisages private sector being involved in defense deals. So Make in India in defense is what is being promoted here. So private sector majors would be selected by the government, and these would be allowed to have direct deals with OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. So these will be foreign OEMs with whom they will have a deal, and they would develop these defense equipments. So there are 4 key areas which have been selected for now. So these are submarines. So there are 6 submarines which have to be developed under Project 75I. Then second is single engine fighter aircraft. So these will be 100 plus single engine fighter aircraft which have to be developed. Third is helicopters, the utility helicopters for the Navy. And fourth is armored vehicles, so future infantry combat vehicle program. So these are the 4 key areas in which private sector players would be selected, plus then original equipment manufacturers would also be finalized for an OEMs. So and this strategic partnership model can then be put into effect. So this will be announced by the government soon. Also another point made is regarding defense PSUs, public sector undertakings participation in this. Private sector participation is of course there. So presently it has been stated that defense PSUs are not keen on getting involved in this because already they have their capacity full. So they don't have the capacity to go and undertake other orders. Their order books are full. That is being stated as such. Only PSU which is going to compete in this current system is Musgao Docks Limited, because it's already presently building the French Scorpion submarines. So that is there. So here you can see the 6 submarines under Project 75I and the likely contenders, the private sector contenders in these areas. Then the next news item is cattle trade rules go against 1960 law. So this is regarding the rules which we discussed yesterday: prevention of cruelty to animals, regulation of livestock market rules of 2017. So these are the rules notified under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act of 1960. So this article is saying that the rules go against the provisions of this act. So rules which are made under act cannot contravene the act itself. So this is a point being made here, because these rules first of all are preventing slaughter for meat. So animals cannot be slaughtered for meat, they cannot be sold for sacrifice, they can be used only for farming, these cattle. So this is actually even to be considered under the Article 19G of the Constitution. So this Article 19(1)G, the fundamental right to occupation, trade or business, also calls for freedom as such, fundamental right. You are free to take up any occupation, trade or business, and it may be slaughtering too. So whether these restrictions put on trade of cattle and also carcasses, it's not just that these rules are preventing sale of animals for slaughtering, but even if there are dead animals, their carcass, the skin of those animals can also not be traded. So that is what is used for making leather. But then this should not be done, it should be destroyed. So that is what is being stated in these rules too. So this is a point put forth, that whether such restrictions are reasonable or not has to be tested on the touchstone of this fundamental right, Article 19(1)G. This is there. Plus also these rules are against the 1960 Act. We'll see how. So this is also not allowed. There are several judicial precedents which say that rule making power does not allow going beyond the scope of enabling act or anything, providing anything which is inconsistent with the present act, with the act under which it is framed. So this is there. So here you can see what this act provides for is slaughtering should not be allowed, but then under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960, the Animal Welfare Board of India is established, and this body is to function as advising the government or any local authority or other persons in design of slaughterhouses and maintenance of slaughterhouses. So slaughterhouses design and maintenance is to be looked into, means slaughtering is not denied by this act. And another thing is that act specifically mentions that slaughter for food is allowed. That's an exception. So act says that destruction of any animal as food for mankind is an exception, unless such destruction or preparation is accompanied by inflicting unnecessary pain or suffering for the animal. So this is the provision under the act, and the rules are going against these provisions. So that is why this point is being raised in this article. Then the next news item is Centre's expenditure rises after new Feb 1 budget date. So we saw that budget 2017 as such was preponed. So the budget is generally announced at the end of the month of Feb, but this year it was announced on 1st of Feb itself. So this advancement of the budget, preponement of the budget, has had a positive effect, because now the pattern of government expenditure has changed. It has increased substantially in the month of April and May compared to previous years. So this is being stated, means timely disbursal of funds for various sectors is facilitated here. So the projects can be initiated. Otherwise what happens is, till the budget is not passed, the project's allocation that gets delayed, and because of that, after the allocation, after the budget has been passed, monsoon sets in, and during monsoon, especially infrastructure projects cannot be taken up, and there's further delay, and then projects can be initiated, funds dispersed only after monsoons are over. So this has been reduced now by having the budget preponed. So this point is being put forth as such by the Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley. So this is there. So Finance Act 2016 was passed in May 2016. And even Finance Act 2015 was May. Even before that, it was much later in July. So this the budget as such is two acts, appropriation and finance. So there are two bills which are passed as acts. That means budget is passed. Appropriation bill and finance bill. So appropriation bill is talking about how to provide funding to various schemes, programs of the government, the expenditure side. And the Finance Act is talking about from where the finances would come, through taxations, revenue, non-revenue sources, all are taken care of through this Finance Act. So these are the two acts which have to be passed so that allocation can also happen for the various ministries and schemes. So this actually a provision is made. You should know about vote on account too. So vote on account is a provision which is made for the time when the budget is being passed. So there's some time required for the two houses to pass the budget, which may be 2 months or so. So during that time, the budget provisions which have been provided in the budget which is not passed, that is allocated. 1/6 of the amount is allocated for 2 months tentatively to various ministries and schemes to continue with their functioning. Because at the end of the financial year, means 31st March, all the funding which had been provided for the last budget year, financial year, that is taken away. So then they cannot be without funds. So funding is of course provided under vote on account. Then the next news item is natural gas no longer profitable, ONGC. So ONGC is saying that natural gas is no longer a profitable business since October 2014, when the present government, central government, came up with a new pricing formula. So the rate prevalent in gas surplus nations like USA, Canada, Russia, they are used to determine the rate of net importing countries. So this has resulted in prices being half now. It has gone down to $2.48 per million BTU. So British thermal unit. This is the unit used for these fuels as such. So the quantity of fuels are measured in this BTU units. This is a standard international unit. So this formula is being protested against, and it says that the cost of production is much more than the profit which we can have. So the price at which we have to sell under the government's new pricing formula. So then it is not a profitable venture. And ONGC is the largest producer of natural gas in the country. It accounts for 80% of the natural gas output. And India is a huge importer of gas too. So that is what we want. We want to reduce our import bill as such. So we want to increase our domestic capacity, but then if it's not a profitable venture, then it would not be undertaken to. So company has suffered a loss too. It's lost 5,010 crore in revenue on natural gas business. So this is there. So that is why its profit has also gone down. And the next news item is this, that Indian Oil Corporation has overtaken ONGC as the most profitable PSU now. So now ONGC is no longer the most profitable PSU. It's IOC, Indian Oil Corporation. So for decades, IOC had been India's biggest company by turnover, but now this time it has recorded net profits more than ONGC too, so it has overtaken it. Next is a gene that staves off heart disease. So scientists have identified this unique gene variant. So genes which are present as such, a variation in a gene is present in people living in this isolated Greek villages in northern Crete. So this is Myelopotamus. So this Myelopotamus region here in Crete, here you can see this is the region here. So this you see is the Mediterranean Sea. This is the island here. So this is an isolated island, part of Greece. So here the people living here, they have this genetic variation, gene variation, and that is why they have less risk of heart diseases despite having high fat diet. So this gene variant is giving positive protection, cardio protection as qualities which it has, which it's providing to these population here. So researchers have also found that a different variant of the same gene is also associated with lower level of triglycerides in Amish founder population in USA too. So this is a gene being spoken of. So genetic studies have also been made. So genetic portrait of the population has been done by sequencing the genome. The entire genetic code of the population is sequenced. So around 250 individuals are selected, and then it was compared with around 3,200 people whose previous genetic information was available, and this gene variant was detected. And that is being highlighted that this has cardioprotective qualities. Then last news item is see-through frog is at risk of extinction. So this is a newly identified frog species with transparent skin, a skin through which you can see its heart beating also. So this is a frog species under threat of extinction. This is found in the Amazonian lowlands of Ecuador. Its name is Hyalinobatrachium yaku. You may not remember the name, but at least where is it found? This is South America. So in Ecuador region here it is found, and it has unique physical and behavioral traits, and they are present in the streams of the rivers here. So if the stream dries up or becomes polluted, this frog can't survive. So it will be taken over by other resilient creatures then. So this is the transparent frog species in news. So these are the news items. Thank you.